Does anyone want to remove any files from the table? Ms. Cluley?
Yes. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to remove 2020-0178.
I need a motion and a second to remove item number 2020-0178 from the table. I got a motion by Ms. Cluley, second by Ms. Perrier. Please cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Item number 2020-0178, an ordinance to enact a moratorium on the approval of major subdivisions, more than 5 lots, until lifted for any community as defined by ordinance number 00911 upon completion of parish drainage and sewage master plans for the community where the results have been accepted by resolution of the Parish Council or 18 months, whichever occurs first. Mr. Palmo. Oh, I'm sorry. We have a motion by Ms. Fonseca.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to motion that we take up the revised version of this ordinance. You should have a copy of it in your notes.
I'm sorry. What is the revised version?
Okay.
I got it right here.
A brief change made at the Planning Commission meeting.
I'll read the revised for everyone. This moratorium only applies to major subdivisions more than 5 lots as defined by ordinance number 81-82, the St. Charles Parish Subdivision Regulations of 1981 as amended, and does not apply to commercial and industrial building permit projects. I have a motion by Ms. Fonseca, a second by Mr. Dufresne.
So what's the actual difference, though? I mean, that sounds like what we heard the first time.
No, I believe they just changed the ordinance number of
Okay.
the ordinance number of the original. We had referenced the incorrect ordinance.
Okay.
Motion by Ms. Fonseca, second by Mr. Dufresne. Please cast your votes for the accepted revised version. And that passes unanimously. Now I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Palmo.
I think I'll defer that to the Parish President.
Thank you, Mr. Palmo and Mr. Chairman. I won't speak at length. Obviously, I spoke at the July 6th council meeting, and if you watched the last Thursday's Planning Commission meeting, at July 6th council meeting, this was tabled and referred to the Planning Commission. Yeah. The Planning Commission took it up, passed unanimously with a supportive recommendation. I did want to clear up a bit of confusion that a couple of residents asked about. There is no cost associated with the moratorium. There is no study or analysis attached to it. It does, however, work, which was by design symbiotically with both the drainage master plan for both the East Bank and West Bank. As you're aware, we wrote it in a way to basically give as little impact as possible to developers. So once we get master plans back, as y'all know, we're working in a phased approach. Once we, for example, Hornville and Amon on the West Bank, once we get back master plans for those areas, I would come to this council and ask that those areas to be released with a resolution, or the council member could ask for that to be released by resolution. But again, this will give Public Works a nice pause from the work that we're doing to try to make these subdivisions fit into our drainage system and make it work without having adjacent impacts or impacts to adjacent subdivisions and allow us to really put a lot of attention into fixing some of the issues at hand. So I do appreciate your support.
Thank you, Mr. Jewell. Public hearing was previously satisfied, so I need a motion and a second to reopen public hearing, please. Got a motion by Ms. Perrier, second by Ms. Gordon. Please cast your votes. And that passes unanimously. Item number 2020-0178 is now open for public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come up and speak on behalf of this item, please do so now.
Howard Walker, 231 Destrahan Drive. I did speak at the meeting last Thursday, if you saw it. I'd like to get into that a little bit and talk a little bit about the flooding. But first, because from River Road to the track, it is a 12-foot drop, and all that water goes to that 100-year-old ditch. I talked about that. I'll talk a little more about it. But I want to change something here. I heard something a little while ago, before I came from my wife, is that the developers saying that for every house we don't build, we lose 100 jobs. Understand that, and I am for the economy. But you were hired by us, the people of St. Charles Parish. A lot of you knocked on my door and said, would you hire me to support you? And we did. You here. So we hired you to help us out. Not the developer. And out of those 100 jobs, I bet you less than 10% are from this parish. So who does this help? Hopefully they're buying out their lumber and materials from our local people. I hope that. The second people they're going to help is real estate agents. More places to sell. And the third person they're going to help is insurance agents. I can sell more flood insurance to help out. So where's it put us, people in this parish who hired you? We asked you to take the next 18 months off, and at that point, revise what it takes to build a subdivision. That would take building retention ponds, and not just getting the property off of theirs, but to the Lake de Zalman, to Lake Pontchartrain. Remember what I said the other day. If I build a house next to you, Miss Mary, you're going to make sure that if I put 3 foot of dirt, you can say, Howard, your water can't come on my property. And I'm going to say, you're right, that's your law. But now I'm telling you, when they build a subdivision, their water can't come on my property. And all of the projects y'all just announced, nothing is on the south side of that track. That 12-foot drop to get it over that track. I didn't hear nothing about that. Studies or not, okay? So maybe you did, I missed it. So I'm saying hold off until you tell these new developers you got to have a retention pond for every square foot of concrete street, concrete houses, concrete driveways, sidewalks, a retention pond. And the water has to get out of the parish. Why should we as a public pay for your pumps? That's $624,000 to pump your water you're making profit off of. So I think the next 18 months, let's take off. Let's look at our property and how we do these developments and have them pay for what they want to do. And get it out. The last 4 subdivisions y'all built in Destrahan, the one behind Harry Hurst, the one next to Destrahan Drive, the one y'all cleared that contaminated land, you let them clear, and all that, now you got chemicals going to that same 100-year-old ditch, and the River Road y'all closed up, Destrahan Drive. Go try it out and see the water coming down. You did it the other day. You saw the water coming down. I can take a skateboard and go from the River Road to the track without having to push. That's how much of a drop you have. So where's that new water going to come from? And so I'm asking you to take 18 months, figure out how we're going to really put new subdivisions over here. And I appreciate your time. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. You state your name and address just for the record, please.
Okay, hi, I'm Tina Berto, 124 Ducayette Drive, Destrahan. I've lived at this address for over 40 years. Most of my neighbors have been here for decades. Many of us have raised families here and plan for this to be our forever homes. With that said, we are a neighborhood of many retired senior citizens. I'm sad to say that some of my neighbors have flooded 3 times since 2018, and this is unacceptable. I stood before the council in 2019, just weeks after the 2018 flood. I asked that you do everything possible to assure us that we would not flood again. I told you that I did not want to see my husband and myself having to raise furniture from floodwaters at 80 years old. Little did I know we would be doing that very same thing at 62 years old. After the May 14th flood, my husband was injured in his effort to rebuild our home. This has not been easy for us. We are all seeing that there is a big difference in the flow of floodwaters here. Mr. Gibbs says he's been working on fixing drainage in our parish and that the work that has been done was done with good intentions, but with unintended results. It seems the solutions that were designed have caused much worse flooding, even for those properties which have never flooded before. Now that the master plan has passed, we need to find a way to help the citizens of this parish remain in their homes. In my particular 4-block area, there are 43 homes, of which 30% have had to be vacated. They can't live there. A lot of these people are older. We actually have a couple of people on our blocks that are 90 years old, in my area. Can you imagine an insurance company coming to you, or you have them on the phone and they say, we need a virtual inspection? Do any of you might have a parent, an older parent, that can take a phone, a smartphone, and do that, doing their work for the adjuster. That's just not easy, and it's not right. And I've spoken at great length about solutions with President Jewell, council members Benedetto and Gibbs. President Jewell has been very hands-on and is determined to get this situation right once and for all. Ms. Benedetto, I had spoken to her, I know she's not here, but I spoke to her about some aid for repetitive flooders. I have a friend that has flooded 3 times. I got a text from her cousin I think we flooded on a Thursday night. On Saturday night, I got a text from her saying that she was worried about her cousin because she just left her property. She was in a hotel. She didn't know what to do. I made a phone call, talked to somebody, and the next day, 40 people from our community. You need to work for our community. We have a good community here. 40 people got in that house, cleared it out, and did everything she needed done in probably less than 4 hours with jambalaya. They fed everybody, okay? I mean, we have a great community. We deserve better than this.
Ms. Berto, I need to give you a few more minutes, procedural.
Okay.
I need a motion and a second. I got a motion by Mr. Dufresne, second by Mr. Fisher. Additional 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Gibbs, I spoke to you about the
Need to vote real quick.
Oh, sorry.
And that passed unanimously. The floor is yours.
Thank you. I spoke to you about the moratorium, and there was a consideration you had about the cost, and we found out, that it's no cost to it. And you said it wasn't the right timing. And now that is off the table, I hope that, and I implore you to vote for this moratorium for the people, because the highest number of flooded homes in the parish was in your district. And I implore you to support this, please. I'm in favor of the moratorium and ask this council, even if your district has had no flooding, please show compassion for these residents who are stuck with outdated and ineffective drainage system. Please put yourselves in our position and vote for this moratorium, which will give us some time and a fighting chance to correct this badly broken system. Please help us put this tragic mess behind us forever. Thank you.
Thank you. Item number 2020-0178, still open for public hearing. State your name and address.
Chris LeBure, 213 Beauregard Lane North, and just wanted to take a moment to thank the council and the zoning board adjustment, how well these meetings are organized. Somebody puts them together and has it all organized, and they do an excellent job. So I'm here to speak in support of the moratorium. We're throwing millions around here about drainage. Let me throw some other millions around. If 437 homes flooded and each average about $50,000 worth of damage, that equals about $22 million worth of flood damage we just had. We could have it again next week. If the value of these homes average $225,000, they probably average a lot more than that. That equals $98 million worth of value. And they probably just lost 30% of their value because they flooded. So that's a lot. People are losing their investments right now. And you probably got one of these in the mail, just like I did, about from Tad, the assessor, reassessing homes. And he's sort of in a pickle because he's got to follow the state mandate. But a lot of people are going to be having their homes reassessed, and they've just flooded. They're not going to think their homes are worth more money. They're going to think they're worth less money. Even the homes that didn't flood, like mine, are going to be worth less money. Your homes may flood next time, and your homes will be worth less money. So it's something we got to pay attention to. As Tina said, 30%. I rode around the neighborhood and looked at 30% of my neighbors' houses are vacant right now, and I don't think they're coming back. And I think they're gonna leave permanently. Water runs down the boulevard of these new culverts and drains they put in. It runs right past them. I don't know what's going on. It's not going in there. But people basically have to run the higher ground every time it rains. I mean, they have to move their automobiles and everything else. I'm just asking you to pause. Pause and let's see what's going on. Find out what's going on. Find out why this is going on. There's a reason for it. And this happens on the East Bank and the West Bank. I was at the ZBA board meeting, and a lady on the West Bank described the same situation we have on the East Bank. She was talking about how a subdivision was built next to her, and she's pinned in by the railroad tracks and a subdivision, and her community is flooding just like ours is. It's not just on the East Bank, it's on the West Bank as well. So I'm asking you for support of this moratorium, and that's all I have. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. Item number 2020-0178, still open for public hearing. Anyone else care to speak on behalf of this? State your name and your address, please.
Ricky
For the record,
Landry.
3 minutes.
Ricky Landry, 211 Ormond Meadows. I want to thank y'all for passing all of the flood items that came up already. I'm asking you also to pass the moratorium and to allow all of this work to be done, to continue working on it. I think it is not unreasonable for citizens who have flooded multiple times in the last 2 months. I've flooded twice myself. To ask the parish to stop, address the issues before adding to our overburdened drainage system, to continue to build subdivisions without a master plan and in place, and to build subdivisions and that don't add to that master plan, just add to more water flow is kind of ridiculous. And taking 18 months to build a system, build a drainage plan, and then once we have that plan in order, then, okay, we want to build a subdivision here. How does that fit into the current plan? What do they require in order to fit into this so we don't flood anybody else's houses? The request states that if the drainage plan takes less than 18 months, the construction continue from there. Sorry. I think at some point we're going to wind up with a situation like the Hard Rock is downtown in New Orleans, where we have a massive buildings being derelict and have a disaster down there because people were sounding the alarms, but no one was listening and no one was taking a pause to take necessary action. If we can take our pause, take a stop, and look at this drainage issue and stop people's homes from flooding, stop people from having to leave their houses, we can avert a massive disaster. No one's going to want to live. You can build all the subdivisions you want. No one's going to want to live in an area where it's constantly flooding. And people are going to start leaving. People try to leave New Orleans anyway. They're going to want to live someplace where they have items on. They have a master plan for drainage. They keep constantly flooding. So, all right. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thank you. Item 2020-0178, still open for public hearing?
My name is Tina Hemel. I'm at 271 Plantation Road in Hornville. I just want to hope and pray that y'all do pass this moratorium because, like they said, I was the one at the planning and zoning that complained with the subdivisions on my side that we're flooding now. And I mean, we're flooding pretty good back there in Fashion Terrace. I know we're in phase 1, but please pass this because we got a lot of old people back there and children coming up now. And we don't want to lose our homes. I don't want to move out of St. Charles Parish. I've been here since I'm 15 years old. And I love St. Charles Parish. So please take care of us. We took care of y'all up here, getting y'all in here. Y'all take care of us. Help us keep our homes so we can stay in a place that we love. You always say St. Charles is the parish of plenty. Show us what y'all got. Show us that we can have plenty life to live here in St. Charles Parish and prosper from what we have in here. But I hope y'all pass this. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 2020-0178, still open for public hearing.
Walter Pillier, 115 Ducayette Drive, Destrehan. I describe where I live as the bottom of the bowl. Some of my neighbors are engineers as well. Refer to where we live as being the detention pond for plantation estates in Ormond. It's a kind of a questionable distinction. I don't like it. It didn't happen for a long time. In fact, we didn't have any flooding of any consequence until a couple of years ago. Then December 28th of 18 came along. Then May 14th, where I did flood. Knew it happened. I knew it would happen. And then I damn near flooded, again on April 5th. A lot of my neighbors did. That's 3 times you're out. You know, that's not good. I saw a film somebody sent to me, and somebody described as a construction guy, described what we were trying to do in the moratorium as trying to kill a rabbit with a nuclear bomb. And that kind of struck a nerve with me because I figured, well, you know what? I saw in my neighborhood what it looked like, and it did look like a nuclear bomb. Unfortunately, I had to suffer that. So we, in our neighborhood, just so you know, we have no animosity toward anybody to develop things, to anybody who thrives from the commerce that is involved in selling property, for the owners. I mean, I feel bad for them. The moratoriums aren't always popular. They're never popular with the people who make money from the commerce in that particular area of business. Just not that way. So I would ask you to look at what you saw today. Being in the engineering business, like I said in the planning and zoning meeting, I know what it takes for these gentlemen to get things done. They don't have a big staff. As you listen to Mr. Bingham and he talks about Don Edwards, you don't have a lot of guys to bounce things off of. You don't have a lot of guys to review things. If you add numerous subdivisions over the next couple of years while they're simultaneously trying to deal with the flood problems that we have and get the plans enacted, get the designs done, we're setting ourselves up for failure. No question about it. So I implore you guys to do what the people have been asking for about the last month since this had been introduced. Please vote in favor of this moratorium. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Pia. Item 2020-0178, still open for public hearing? Anyone else care to come speak on behalf of this item? Seeing none, public hearing is closed. Council discussion. So here we are. I need to say our democracy is alive and well in St. Charles Parish. With all the violence and all the protesting going on around the country, this parish showed democracy how it should work. The people have spoken through social media, through email, face-to-face, plenty face-to-face. With the exception of a little chippiness, and me having to explain some Gibbs entitlement and relationship to Gibbs construction, and the worst one was corruptness, we acted in a very passionate and civil manner. We could be an excellent example for people across the country on how to handle something so passionate and handle it in a civil manner. Nobody showed up at my house. Nobody threatened. Nobody threw eggs. It was all done, I think, the proper way. While it's my belief this moratorium will probably pass tonight, perhaps unanimously, it's important that everyone know my position. It's been guessed, It's been, it's been told to me what my position was, and yet I've only been able to tell it to quite a few people face to face. I was not going to put it out on social media because that's just crazy. So I voted nay, and I voted nay because it was coming as a package program. It was coming as a moratorium and a master drainage study plan for the East and West Bank, and it came with a price tag. Well, unfortunately, the moratorium had a hiccup with the procedural process, and we had to table it. And what I really wanted to propose was, first, getting a good explanation of where the money's coming from. We've already appropriated $1 million. It's going to probably cost upwards of $3 million when it's all said and done for the studies. Not sure where that money's coming from. But what I really, really wanted to do when I found out that it was going to cost certainly well over $1 million was apply that money to the people in the parish. But unfortunately, my district has suffered so many repetitive losses that I'm just not sure how my constituents are going to be able to pay for their flood insurance going forward. So I wanted to take the money, apply it to raising the homes. I was going to get with Representative Garrett Graves' office, Senator Cassidy's office, and the NFIP. Our firm does a tremendous amount of business with the NFIP, so we've made relationships really high up, and I really think that with some convincing, we may have been able to work out a deal where we use the funding right now for the studies, raise the homes, get reimbursed, and then do the studies. So I was never against this. I voted nay because I wanted to use the money for a solution instead of a study right now, and I wanted to use it for action and not academics. Unfortunately, the proposal did not resonate with the citizens. The moratorium and the study deemed much more important at this time. But handcuffing the parish with a moratorium didn't make sense to me because we may have some areas in the parish that can be developed that don't have drainage problems, and I just didn't want a one-size-fit-all. I'm convinced, even without the moratorium, that development would be very difficult going forward if a developer were able to get through planning and zoning, go through all the permit, and come to us. I don't think this council would certainly agree to a new development anytime soon until we do have our flooding issues under control. So I need everyone to keep in mind, after tonight, the moratorium passes, flooding's not going to miraculously stop. The parish president, to his credit, has sent out crews, and they are moving dirt. They're moving tremendous amounts of projects, smaller than what we can afford right now, but nonetheless moving a tremendous amount of dirt. I hope that this does help. I hope that at least what we're doing keeps the water out of people's homes. We've all learned to live with water in the streets, but not in the homes. And I just don't want this to be good theater. I want something to happen. So again, the people of the parish have spoken. I've listened loud and clear. I thank you for your passion, and I certainly appreciate your involvement. Ms. Perrier.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. First, I'm going to read some comments and thoughts from Councilman Benedetto. She had every intention of being here, but where this fell on the agenda, she was just absolutely unable to make it. She was truly hoping to be here at least for this vote, but this is from her. Thank you for allowing me to be heard tonight. I'm sorry I cannot be there for today's meeting. We celebrated my grandson's 2nd birthday, and I did not want to miss out on such special memories that could not be replaced. As I appreciate all of the residents that have emailed, called, texted, and along with the residents present here tonight, voicing your opinions and concerns, not only for the moratorium to pass, but to correct the flooding throughout this parish, your voice has been heard. As an elected official, elected by you, the residents of this parish, I'm asking for the entire council's support for this moratorium. I have heard from the people and by the people, and it is their utmost request that a moratorium be put in order today. Thank you, Councilman Wendy Benedetto. Now, these words are mine. So I want to start with clarification. Just as Mr. Jewell had to clear some things up, I think there's been a lot of misinformation. This item was never voted on, yea or nay, so the procedural part first. 7 of us voted to send it to the Planning Commission. We simply wanted it to go through the proper channels, and I appreciate everybody understanding that. And I'm glad that it did, because it gave us all some time to look at the magnitude of what this deserves. It deserved us to dig a little bit deeper. I think we all discovered some things in other parts of the parish, not just, Ormond area, that may need some attention. So maybe this was a really, really good thing for all of us, not just those who were in immediate need. So while the moratorium took the proper channels, no subdivision was passed either. So that's good news, and seemingly drainage work has continued as well. I did hear from a lot of residents, mainly Ormond residents, so you guys are a force to be reckoned with, I will say that, and a handful from other districts and a few from my district as well. And some words that really hit me. One resident from Ormond sent an email, I think all of us got it, regarding being on a ridge, flooding not being natural. Basically, they're counting on us to fix the flooding. Please be our solution. And while I think there are a lot of pieces and parts to the solution, the moratorium is not the solution. It is definitely something that can slow things down. But as Councilman Gibbs stated, no magic wand is going to be waved tonight if this is passed, and the flooding will immediately be fixed. And I know you all know that. I just think we need to keep that at the forefront and be realistic and try to, keep it all in time. We've got millions and millions of dollars that we've budgeted and spent in the last 8 years, and it looks like we have millions and millions more to do even more work. So drainage has always been something that needs constant attention, and it's going to need to continue to be. We're seeing some new patterns with water. Some areas where there is no new construction and where no new construction has been for years. So my district's got some new areas of concern, and I really didn't know that or see that to its impact until after this was brought to light a little bit more. So Ormond's got some areas that have flooded. The master drainage plan we approved a month ago is going to delve deeper into that. We've got a little piece of a drainage plan, so we're moving. And this agenda tonight showed that, and I'm really, really glad, because I've got friends in Ormond. I've got coworkers in Ormond. I got people in Ormond, and I care about all of you. So I'm glad to see this moving forward. It also takes everyone's eyes and ears. Nobody knows your drainage better than you, and we've said that, so I'm glad to see that this committee is coming to light as well, the Citizens Committee, because I think there's no way I can ride up and down every single street during a rain event. There's just no way. It's not safe. So everybody's eyes need to be on their drainage, and we want to hear from you. And I want to speak to three groups of residents specifically. One group is Destrehan, and you guys, as I mentioned, have been harder and more frequent than anyone else with your flooding in the parish. And I'm sorry you've had to go through that. I'm sorry you all have had to be scared, and this has drug on the way that it has. No one has the complete solution yet, but if we all work together, we will. If we all communicate, we will. My district, specifically Mimosa, Lakewood, Lagatuda, and some surrounding areas, I know you guys are out there listening. You're not here, but you're listening. We don't have a flooding problem, and I said this before, but we do have water in the streets. And a flooding problem is Ormond. They have water in their homes. We do not have water in our homes in Mimosa, Lakewood, Lagatuda, and surrounding currently. In July, we surpassed records related to rainfall. Mother Nature ain't playing around right now. Sorry, President Jewell, but she ain't playing. It's coming down in large amounts in very short time. That being said, we shouldn't be okay with that. We should have a plan, because it seems like it's not stopping. So, there's some strange patterns. I've been here for decades. I know what the water does, at least in my district, and it's doing some new stuff. So I asked Parish President Jewell and actually Miles Bingham to come out and walk the levee with me behind District 7. We walked the West Bank Hurricane Protection Levee, and there may be some things there that just aren't right. And that levee, while is necessary to protect us, may be backfiring a little bit. And so this may have brought some things to light that we need to look further into, which is wonderful. And lastly, the third group is District 7, Luling Estates, Gasson, and surrounding areas like Ashton. You guys do have a flooding problem. Some of you got water in your homes. Some of you had water just in the streets, but that area seems to be a little bit more of a concern than we realized it was. And again, I need to know what you're seeing out there. The administration has acknowledged that we have a problem in your area. I'll trust that they'll look at your area, and maybe some drainage throughways were blocked. Maybe the water isn't getting 80 ARPAN. We upgraded right there around Hackberry not long ago, so I think there's probably a quick solution there. But nobody deserves to have water in their homes. So I just applaud the efforts of the residents. I truly hope that the Facebook warriors will in the future maybe take a different approach, reach out to us as humans. We want to hear from you. We want to talk to you. I deleted my Facebook account for a period of time to see if maybe anybody would call, and y'all didn't. But so I turned it back on. But do remember, we're all human. We're here to help you. We have been elected to help you. I assure you, since the moratorium was introduced, no new subdivisions have approved. So we're safe. We're safe. And we expect for all of these studies to truly find a solution. My family's been here for 70 years. I'm not going anywhere, and I hope that you don't either, because St. Charles Parish really is the parish of plenty. I'm proud to live here. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Perrier. Ms. Gordon.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I represent both sides of the river. I represent some areas of Destrehan, and I also represent the areas here on the West Bank. And 2018 saw flooding. May of 2020 saw flooding. In July of 2020 saw flooding. And it was the same people. So I don't think the same people, and I don't think new residents also want to see flooding again. With the moratorium, I think taking a break for 18 months, it will help for us to at least start cleaning up any culverts that are actually hidden, because there are many hidden culverts in the Hornville area. When it did rain in May, myself and President Jewell, we did ride out in Destrehan. We all, and Mr. Bingham as well, we rode out in Destrehan. We spoke with residents. Also, we rode out on River Park, King Street, Avalon, and South Fashion, and also Fashion Terrace. So we rode every area, and we also walked behind the tracks as well to see many areas that were actually just culverts that was just covered. So having this 18-month break will actually help us as the parish to be able to look at the work that needs to be done, any cleanup that needs to be done, and just having that 18-month break. And I am for this moratorium for 18 months.
Thank you, Ms. Gordon. Mr. Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I want to thank everyone who has contacted us. Like Ms. Perrier said, the outreach, the come together as a community. Like Ms. Tina said earlier, I think I counted at the end of today before I came to the meeting a little bit over 240 emails, both in support and some not for support. It gave us a time to look at it. And I know a lot of people have looked at our subdivision ordinances and what we say and what we do, and we've seen in the past that we may not have always done the right thing. We understand that. It's also given us a couple opportunities to introduce some new items to make our subdivision ordinances better. The 18-month moratorium is going to help us. We've identified a lot of the not maintained, not done, simple servitudes that we didn't know was there. We have that parish-wide in all of our districts. It has put us in a position to be proactive instead of reactive. We're committed to spending the money. We've talked about with our studies. It's a lot of money. But the people in St. Charles Parish that elected us, like Mr. Tim said, they elected us to do a job. So the moratorium is what we need right now. We need the revisions to our subdivision ordinances, and I think we can all work on that too. But I'm going to ask you to please support the moratorium because the people have spoken.
Thank you, Mr. Fisher. Mr. Jewell.
Mr. Chairman, would it be possible if I spoke after Ms. Belloc?
Not a problem.
Thank you.
Ms. Belloc.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
I really wanted to go after you, but that's okay.
Oh.
How about that? No, I'm just... So, we all have our different opinions on how we think things should run and the way we thought the moratorium should be. And since we all have our different opinions, democracy works well. And I've gotten a lot of phone calls and people have come to my house since I made the statement that we don't have, St. Rose does not have flooding or drainage issue. Anyway, so a certain couple that we talked to, I didn't want to call their name out, but Mr. Bingham and the Parish President and Ms. Fonseca came out and we rode in the back of St. Rose down behind the railroad tracks, and we saw some issues, some drainage issues in St. Rose. So I'm glad you came to see that. And previously, before that, we was aware of that issue, but I guess it was, I don't know, put on back burner, whatever, I don't know. But my concern was, I don't want St. Rose to be last on the list, since we're don't have these big issues like Destrehan. So, so with that being said, I will be in support of this because I have my constituents spoke up as they were supposed to do. So, thank you, St. Rose.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Ms. Belloc. Mr. Dufresne.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm glad everybody heard. I was getting worried. I was going to bring some hearing aids. I heard earlier. People spoke. People were upset. I was in support. Ms. Perrier's right. This isn't a magic wand. But these drainage projects will help. This 18 months will help. But this is something that should have been done 10 years ago, if not sooner. Same thing with the traffic studies. And let me tell you, we can build pump stations and all the things we want. But when we go 4-6 years with no maintenance, because I rode through the parish. There's trees bigger than my waist, and I'm a fat guy. They didn't grow in 6 months, I promise you. There's milkweeds and different kind of bloodweeds and ditches and canals that are taller than President Jewell. That didn't happen in 6 months. That's a shame. That's a shame that happened. And I'm not saying it would have stopped everybody from flooding, but if we'd have had a maintenance program and things were getting done like Mr. Bingham is getting things done now. Because when we turn in work orders now for drainage stuff, they're 2 or 3 weeks behind. So we need to talk about how we can get some extra crews, because we got to get on top of that. And that's got to be something that's done on a rotation. We can't wait till people flood. But I'm glad everybody up here heard. I was getting worried. I was going to go to the VA and get some more hearing aids and bring them to y'all. So thank you. And we got to support this, because this is what everyone wants. And I don't speak Spanish, but I'm going to say my favorite Spanish saying, Viva la raza, viva la St. Charles Parish.
Ms. Fonseca?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I represent the entire parish, and I have been out to talk to the residents after every flood. I have met up with the administration, Mr. Jewell, some of council members, Mr. Fisher, Ms. Gordon, as Ms. Bellick said. We've met with residents in the various parts of the parish to discuss their drainage issues, and there isn't a part of this parish that doesn't have drainage issues. Some are more serious at the moment than others, but that doesn't mean that they all don't need to be tackled. And I'm here to assure all the residents that, yes, we are looking very carefully at those areas where a lot of homes have flooded, but we are also, and I'm going to ensure that we are, looking at the areas like AMA and getting some efforts over onto the West Bank, getting some projects going in Hornville. I, in particular, am a lifelong resident south of Highway 90 on the West Bank and grew up off of Lakewood Drive. I can give you the history of drainage down Lakewood Drive. But we do have a serious issue at West Heather and Lakewood on back to Lakewood Estates, where that's one access, like some other subdivisions are, and significant street flooding in the recent rain events where it's impassable, which is not okay because emergency vehicles can't get back there. So I guess, thank you all in advance for your support. I'm happy this went through, procedural requirements to, I guess, take care of any issues that may have arisen had it not. But I've supported this from the beginning for reasons based on my experience and also from, as a council member, talking to the residents, and I also heard you loud and clear pretty early on, and really appreciate the residents speaking out and such an impassioned effort, and peaceably also, as Mr. Gibbs said. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Fonseca. Mr. Jewell.
Thank you, Chairman. I just want to say, and it sounds like this is going to pass, but I just want to say we're not going to sit back and relax if this passes. As you all know, and as it was said, it's not a magic wand. We don't think that a moratorium is going to stop any flooding. But again, it does give us a lot of time to get back and continue the work we're doing to making improvements within the system. As you can see tonight, we're committed to fixing a lot of the problems in Destrehan, and a lot of those projects are within the heart of Ormond, but they help so many more people outside of Ormond, people in Red Church, people even on past the bridge. So you're going to continue to see our equipment on the ground. You're going to continue to see our major canals being dredged. You're going to continue to see improvements being made, improvements being identified by Miles and by Don and by the great crews we have on the ground, the great foremen that we have out in the field who identify these issues day in and day out. I mean, these guys are amazing. They've been involved with it so hands-on that they know exactly what's going on. So, we're meeting with those folks. We're continuing to just go pedal to the metal on these drainage issues. And my commitment to fixing drainage in Destrehan is just as strong as my commitment to fixing drainage in Norco, who also experienced 90 homes that flooded in these last rain events. It's my commitment to fixing drainage in Muntz and in AMA and in Hawnville and throughout the entire parish is just as strong as some of the stuff you've seen here tonight. And we will continue to make those improvements, and I will do everything in my power to make sure that the moratorium was not passed in vain and that this effort was not in vain. Thank you.
Ms. Fonseca?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I neglected to mention that Ms. Cluley also joined us out in AMA when I said AMA, so thank you.
Any other council discussion? Seeing none, let's cast our votes. And that passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Yeah.